I'm not sure how much of this I'm going to leave in or edit out because I'm not sure if it's valuable for you to see these problems. It probably is valuable to see me struggling. This demo was supposed to go perfect. Dang it. Hello everyone, this is Tristan Rhodes with Victress AI. Today I'm going to talk to you about building secure anonymous forms. What are anonymous forms? These are the types of forms you'll find on almost every website. Typically you'll see a contact us form. These are all leads for a business. And it's very common to have these on a website. The people who are submitting them aren't usually authenticated on the website. They're just people from the internet visiting and they want to get some information or have someone contact them. It's easy to make these forms, but it's important to know that there are some risks. These forms can be attacked by spam bots. We don't want to receive thousands of bad records or bad leads. This can flood the database, using up all of your storage, increasing your costs. And if you don't properly secure your database, you can let the bad actor read information that they're not supposed to have access to, or even worse, delete all of your leads or other things in your database. If you're a vibe coder and you don't have any idea of how things like this work, it's important to understand mechanisms that will protect your data. There are cases where vibe coded websites and databases have been deleted by these bad actors. And if you're flooded with too many fake requests, it's hard to tell what's a fake request and what's a real request. I actually had a waitlist that I created that was hit with spam of fake users. Like overnight, I had 20,000 people on my waitlist. I was so excited. I thought maybe for a few seconds at least, I had a big viral hit on my hands. And after a little bit of research, I found out that it was just junk that someone had submitted to my waitlist. I didn't know if there was also real users during that time frame, but I just had to delete everybody from that short period of time when the fake submissions were added. Another problem with spam is that if you set up an integration with an email service to send an email every time you receive a lead, this will easily result in your inbox getting thousands of emails, and it could increase your costs for that email service and possibly get you blacklisted as being spam. And like we talked about before, if you don't set up your row level security, you could be giving people too much access to your database. The worst case scenario would be they could delete everything. And this slide just talks a little bit about row level security. We'll talk about that more, but it's a way you can define a policy on who can access your data. Okay, well, let's start by looking at how an attack like this could happen. So I've built a simple website called Handy Pro. It's a handyman website. I built this in a few prompts using Bolt. Most of my time was spent animating this hammer. I'm also a game dev, so making a juicy animation like this makes me happy. So animating the hammer was the biggest feature of this website so far. But as you'll see, a contact form, like get a quote. These are the types of things that most websites will have. So we could say we're going to use fake information. We'll send a message. And it says it was sent successfully. Now, this is how most people will use a website. But if you are building websites, you're probably going to want to open up the browser tools. I just press F12 to do that. And now let's try this exact same thing, but let's watch what happens over the network tab and see what happens when this gets sent. All right, we're going to send a message and see what we see. All right, we see a 201 message, which is a successful post. So for this message, we sent a post to Supabase, which is the backend for this website. And the request was with these values, basically the same thing that you saw in the form. And that is now inside the database. And one thing that you may not know about is that in tools like Firefox, which I'm using here, you can right click on a network packet and click edit and resend. And so here is the body that it's going to send. So we're going to say test using browser tools. So this basically just have an updated name. We'll click send, and you can see this was also a 201 successful message. So this is now also in the database. I could hit it a few times. Look at that, I'm filling up the database. This is just a few tens of entries. This would be very easy to create a nearly infinite number of entries with a script. Let's see what that looks like from the Bolt perspective. So this is that same website in the Bolt interface, and let's look at our database. Contact submissions, 37 rows. So there's a few entries that I put here that were like possibly real customers. But if you go down here, that was the first test I did using the form. And then these rest of these are all sent using the browser tools. Those browser tools don't even use the website. They're going directly to Supabase and submitting it. So you're skipping your front end entirely. If we click on view policies, we'll see who can read and write to this. So it says anyone can submit. What this means is that anybody who has the anonymous key, and the anonymous key is public, it's not hidden, that's by design. Anyone who has this anonymous key can insert new records. This is good because Bolt is protecting your database so bad actors can't read your database submissions. That's good. They also can't delete it, but they can still flood it. So we still need to do something more to protect this website. So what can we do to do that? Okay, so we're going to use a tool called Cloudflare Turnstile. You may have heard of CAPTCHAs before to verify if you're a human or not. That's what we're going to be doing. Cloudflare Turnstile is really nice because it's not those annoying pictures that you have to try to understand. I don't know if you remember in the past, they were like gibberish and you had to try to guess what letters it was saying because back then AI couldn't read those. What Turnstile does is it runs a bunch of JavaScript in the background and the user doesn't even really see it. And it's basically testing if this is a real browser versus a bot. And this is not infallible either, but it is a good step to protecting your anonymous forms. And if I did mention, it is free, so I recommend using it. The architecture for Turnstile is that you add Turnstiles to your front end, and what that's going to do is run those JavaScript tests in the background. If it successfully passes the Cloudflare's tests, it'll get a token from Cloudflare. You need to build a back end that will look for that token and verify it with Cloudflare that it is a valid token. And if so, then it will allow the user to submit to this form. And the other thing that you want to make sure you do is use RLS, row level security, to protect access to your data. Let's try that right now. Bolt is protecting this for everything except for inserts. Let's copy this prompt and let's use this prompt to restrict all access to anonymous users, even for inserting, for learning purposes, just to see how it works. All right, let's see if we can paste this in here. Okay, Bolt is applying SQL to update the policy. I'm really curious to see if this works. Okay, row level security is now fully restrictive on the contact submissions table. Anonymous users can no longer read, write, or delete any data. It's completely locked down. And let's see what it looks like in here. If we click view policies, you don't have any policies yet. I believe that row level security is enabled, but there's no policies to allow access. This is basically going to block all access, and we can easily test that. Let's try submitting a form. All right, let's see if we get an error message. Failed to send message. Ooh, I'm gonna click F12. And let's submit it again. Okay, here's what it says, 401 unauthorized. That's perfect. That means that by changing the RLS policy, users can no longer submit directly from the front end like they have been. So, well, great, now our form's broken. That's fine, but how do we get it working again? Let's use this prompt. Add a Cloudflare Turnstile widget to the form, ensuring the submit button is disabled until verified. Then create a Supabase edge function that validates the token and inserts the form data into the database. So this means that instead of your user's front end submitting the form, the user's browser is going to call your brand new edge function. The edge function is going to receive that token that your browser got from Turnstile, and it's going to verify that. And that will prevent bots from submitting to your form. We'll copy this. Now we will do this. Okay, now you should know that while Bolt's thinking, it's going to ask us for some information about our Cloudflare Turnstile account. So if you go to Cloudflare, you log in, you'll come to this page and you'll want to click Add Widget. We're going to call it Handyman, and you do need to provide which host the website runs on. This website is right there, handyman.bolt.host. That's what my website runs on. So you want the host name, handyman.bolt.host, and then I just accept this default managed mode. Cloudflare will decide if the interactive challenge should be used. Click Create. All right, we have successfully created the Turnstile widget. That was easy. You really just need the host name that the website runs on. We have a site key and a secret key, and you will be able to view these later, unlike some websites that you can only see the key one time. Let's look at Bolt. Bolt is working hard, and I expect and hope that it will ask me for the keys that Turnstile gave me, because that is required. Oh, look, it even gave me the instructions on how to get that. So you can just click this link. Please provide both keys so I complete the implementation. Okay, that's great. Looks like Bolt's in a funny state because it's asking me for the keys, but it hasn't prompted me in the correct way. I'm going to say ask me for the keys, because there is a certain way that you should be adding these keys to Bolt. You could do it manually, but Bolt has an interactive method to do this. Maybe I can force it to use its tool to gather keys securely from the user. I mean, you can actually do it manually. It's really struggling. I want it to show me the UI to input in my secret key. Well, I couldn't get Bolt to ask me the secure way to add the keys, so I'm just going to paste these into chat and see if it can handle it. Normally, it has a really nice tool for inputting secret keys, so I'm not sure why that's not working. Yeah, so keys that start with VEET underscore prefix, those are available to the front end, which is good. The site key is basically public. And the secret key is what's added to the back end. I'm curious if it actually added it to the back end. Secrets. See, there's no secret. Let's see if I can get it to do its job. Yes, I would like you to create an edge function. I'm going to just recopy this prompt, because the prompt is good. Let's see if it's going to get any farther. Well, it is editing. That's a good step. This is what the form looks like now. This is definitely looking better. I wonder if it's going to add the secret. I'm not sure how much of this I'm going to leave in or edit out, because I'm not sure if it's valuable for you to see these problems. It probably is valuable to see me struggling. This demo was supposed to go perfect. Dang it. Honestly, I just hope my microphone's recording. I've recorded so many demos where I'm talking to nothing because the recording is either paused, thanks OBS. OBS has this tiny pause play status, and that's the only way you could tell if it's actually recording or not. Oh, look, it finally is asking me. So this is what's supposed to happen. Bolt is supposed to see that you have a secret that needs to be added, and it'll prompt you, missing secrets. The following secrets are used in the code but don't exist yet. The Turnstile secrets key. So if you click this button, it'll pre-fill this name of the secret, and then you just need to go copy your secret key, paste it here, and create secret. And this puts it on Supabase. And here you can see it's down here. All right, I think it's ready to go. Okay, so this is something you'll see if your host name isn't correct. And because we're inside the Bolt interface, it doesn't see the host name that we've configured it. So let's quickly publish this. I'm curious what this security issue detected is. Okay, it says the context submission table has RLS enabled, but no policies exist. Nobody, not even authenticated users, can use this table. That's okay. The backend is going to be doing this. This is just informational. It's not like a warning or an error. They're just letting you know no one's going to be able to talk to that database. All right, so we're going to update this, publish this, and then once this is done, we're going to test it using the real host name. We'll refresh this page. Okay, so there's still no CAPTCHA here. Oh, I just heard a ding. Okay, it's successfully published. So if I refresh this, okay, see how it says verifying success? The human didn't have to do anything. That is good. That's great. It ran some JavaScript in the background and determined, yeah, this is probably a user. And now we should be able to submit this form, and we'll say with Turnstile work at work.com did this work. And just because I want to know how it works, let's review what gets sent on this form. So we're going to click, we're in the network tab, Send message. Okay, it says success. So the most important thing to know is that it successfully posted to this Supabase edge function. Just like before, it sent the email, the message, and the name, but it did one thing additional. It sent this turnstile token. Now, this turnstile token was given by Cloudflare Turnstile when the browser front end successfully passed this JavaScript challenge. Now, let's see if we can see it in the logs of the backend server. You can always ask your vibe coding tool to add more logs to see what's happening, but let's go to contact submissions. Let's see if it made it into the database. Page 2. Okay, here we go. With Turnstile, did this work? So we know it worked. Remember how we tried submitting directly and it failed because we have no RLS policies, and so all access was denied? Nobody can submit this database using the front end. However, the back end uses the service role key and has the ability to basically bypass RLS. Let's see if the logs show anything useful. You can see that one user submitted this post and it took 1.4 seconds to complete. If you really wanted more information, you could always add your vibe coding tool to add more logs about what's happening with this edge function, and you would see them here. We now have a fully protected anonymous form. I hope that was useful to you, both in understanding the problem and some ways to address it, and also just some basic troubleshooting skills on how to understand what's happening with your web app, how to use the browser tools to look at the network tab to see what traffic's being sent, to see when you change things, how does that change the behavior of your app. These are very critical steps in being able to debug problems when you run into them, and you'll get much farther if you have these skills. If you have any questions about what I talked about, feel free to leave a comment or contact me directly. I am Tristan Bob on Twitter. All right, see you guys later. Bye-bye.